What's up, my friends? I hope you're okay. So today is the third episode of the series and I would like to show you how I worked on painting the basic colors on Hellcat model. Before I go into that, I would like to thank my reliable patrons who support my channel. Massive thanks to you, my friends. If you also would like to become my patron, check the link in the description or at the end of this video and see what you can get at each level. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already, and feel free to leave your comments below and give a like to this video. Thank you! Okay, time is money, so let's go to work. Of course, first disassemble the model into elements that will be easier to paint separately. In general, I always try to keep the wheels separate as well as the tracks. It's much easier to work on them and with painting and weathering. During construction the wheels were mounted on a blue tack, so now it needs to be removed. Mounting on toothpicks is very simple, you can stick or drill a hole. It should be invisible later. I glued nuts and bolts to the turret and the hull. As you can see, the one in the hull is really big, but I didn't have another one and this one will hold well. It's worth sanding the nuts before we glue them. And it's also worth spraying the activator to CA, which accelerates the drying of the glue. A bunch of wheels for my wife. Okay, everything is ready to be cleaned. Just a little grinding to the metal barrel and we can start cleaning the parts with the model degreaser from Modeler's World. It's a sensational liquid that evaporates very quickly and thanks to it we get rid of all the dirt that arises during the construction process. Just wipe the surface with a brush and it's ready. It's slightly dull and touching it must be avoided. As you can see, all the materials accept the fluid without any problems. It's super fast as opposed to washing in water and soap. Here we start painting after 3 minutes and water must dry much longer. Metal elements have been coated with a metal primer, which will increase the adhesion of the proper primer and paint. And now we have a grey AK undercoat all over the model. I didn't show how to do it because I always take the model to the balcony or to the basement so as not to spray paint at home, it's obvious. And such a curiosity. You can see how long it takes to take one photo. Arrangement setting the camera for one picture to the article. And here we have the effect. Now we can start the painting. On the lowest surfaces and those that are the most shaded, I decided to spray black-green. Most of them will be obscured or dirty, so I'm not worried about these areas. As you can see, I mainly painted the underside of the hull and turret, as well as the inside of the idler and drive wheels. The basic color is olive drab. I paint from the top to cover mainly surfaces that haven't received a dark shade yet. I will lighten the base color in a moment because now the model is too dark. But before adding lighter tones, I will paint the wheels first. I wanted to use the proven color from Wheel Colors for this, but it turned out that I forgot to buy a new bottle of paint. There was nothing left and I needed to find something similar. I chose black 6RP. First I painted the rubber rims and it was walk in the park, the same like adding olive drab on the wheels. Just because I used quick wheel mask. Yes, I know that plastic ruler with rings is much cheaper, but you know, I don't think that there are enough rings cut for each model. You can use the ruler if you like, but I like the masks. As you can see, it's very convenient tool and we can paint all the rims with it. The basic color on the hull is already dry, so now I can easily start brightening. I will do this in several stages, increasing the amount of light paint in a mixture with olive drab. I apply color on the most exposed surfaces. Generally, as you can see, I don't play with any sophisticated patterns, I just brighten the surfaces. I lightened the color 3 times, adding more buff each time. The difference in shades is clearly visible on the engine plate because there is a shadow that will be under the turret. Of course, if you plan to set up a model with a turret rotated, you need to paint the shadows accordingly. I assume that my model will have a straight bar, so this shadow is justified. If the turret was positioned differently, I would paint such a fake shadow elsewhere. The airbrush goes to the side and now I can start brush painting. I painted all the details this way. I divided the work into two parts, first the hull and then the turret. I started with towing cables. The first layer is grey, which was then covered with well diluted silver paint. Of course, later the weathering will change the appearance of this element even more, the same like the ends, which I painted bright green. I know that silver shackles can be painful sight for some, but I did it on purpose. The reason is very simple, the contrast. Now they stand out against the green background, but later after the weathering it will be muffled, but still these colors will play their part in the whole model. Of course, it's a matter of individual preferences and the way you paint details on your model. My way is just like that, and I guarantee that it will look very good on the finished model. Just leaving the contrast matters out of discussion for now, I painted the periscopes dark grey to wash them with dark paint later and add some metallic wraps. The machine gun tripod has also been colored according to the role I applied to the ropes and shackles. I know the shade is a bit weird, but wait for the next stages. Now a little light color for wooden elements. I painted all of them first in light sand as a base for further painting of the wood. And I know I forgot about the straps to keep the tools in correct places. They will be added later, I swear. Metal parts are gunmetal or dark grey. By diluting mahogany brown in various proportions, I started to play with changing shades on individual elements. The consumption depends on the number of layers. I also painted a little light on the ramrod elements, but on the axe I use a green brown, which is very dark. I diluted it heavily with the thinner and the effect is really cool. The shawls look nice in this configuration, but painting them was not an easy thing. Brown imitates leather straps. I think I painted all the screws heads silver. Of course, as before, it's about contrast, and besides, many of them will be invisible at the end. You can do it now just like me, but also after all with a pencil in the places you choose. In the photos from the museum I noticed that the front hatches have some rubber gaskets or something similar, and they are black or dark grey. It's not mapped in the model, but the edge can be painted in this way. Maybe I can try to make it from soldering wire. On the other hand, maybe it's a museum improvement. I don't know. The funnel is generally silver with a slightly darker shade. The string from the previous episode also got some colors, first dark brown and then sandy. I went back to the wheels again. First the idlers got a dark grey undercoat and then a silver to make a good look for surfaces polished by the trucks. On the road wheels I painted some silver effects on the screws and on the edges. These are small scratches that most probably will disappear under the mud, but there is a chance that something will be visible, and that's what I want to achieve. As we are already at the chassis, the manufacturer of Quick Trucks has sent additional locking links that will definitely facilitate the assembly. 2 additional links connected with a wire which is then cut and glued. It works great. To paint both sections of trucks I attached them to the mat with pins. A little pressure is enough to keep trucks in one place. First I washed them with model degreaser and then covered with AK truck primer. A few thin layers was enough to prepare them for weathering. Now I'm starting the second stage, in which I will take care of the elements of the turret. Generally it will be a long fun with tarpaulins painting. I won't tell you what I do on individual elements, I think you can see it very well. The most important thing I would like to convey is to try to paint them with different shades, which will undoubtedly be better than one color applied to the several similar elements. Of course it's best to keep them in a military style, unless we make some captured goods, then it's advisable to use more bright colors. This can also help build contrast and, perhaps equally important, tell a story. Even such a trivial thing as a colorful blanket builds the atmosphere, and you can imagine what the crew did to get this stuff. One note more. Start painting from the bottom and more specifically from the most hidden elements, and move on to those that are more and more visible. Even if you keep changing the color of the paint on the brush, it will still be easier and faster than the constant corrections of the element you just painted. Oh yeah, good luck! The machine gun was painted black with a few silver elements. Of course, the ammunition belt is also colored accordingly. More will come later. These are all the paints I used to paint the details on the model, a total of 24 different colors. And of course acrylic Doctor as a thinner. The next stage, which is extremely important in the case of this vehicle, is marking. But before I get down to it, I covered all the surfaces with a glossy varnish. 2 thin layers were sufficient. From the set of decals that Tamiya adds to the model, I chose only some of the stickers. In fact, I was quite skeptical about them because they seemed very thick in my opinion. But Tamiya knows what it's doing and I cut out the ones I needed for the model. I decided to compose my own version of the markings because I didn't care about any particular vehicle. Of course, white stars for all the places I want, plus a tank destroyer badge on the sides of the hull and a few small tactical markings. Besides, from my decals I also cut the numbers for the vehicle number and the smaller stars. I cut the side stars for the turret out of the circles. Cutting them to fit the equipment that is already there I considered a waste of time. It's enough that the stars on the engine plate and at the top of the turret will be properly formed. Initially I planned to use stencils because I really like all kinds of imperfections in the painting of the markings, especially the American ones. However, I found that their mounting would be too breakneck and therefore the whole thing will be made of decals. Maybe another time and on a different model that won't be so crowded with storage. All the decals have also been soaked with microscale salt to better blend them into the paint surface. It was surprising to me how quickly the decals from Tamiya could be softened. I think I forgot how they work because I haven't made any model from Tamiya in a long time and I haven't used their decals. Here is a little trick. The shovel was glued permanently and it was impossible to put the decals under it. I had to cut it open and adjust it to what was already on the model. And it turned out to be perfect. I composed the side number using numbers from my collection. Maybe it could be a little bigger, but I found that they are better than none. That's all I wanted to show you today. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed this video and you learned something new. I'm already announcing the next episode in which I will weathering the entire vehicle so that it's ready to be placed on the base. So if you've been enjoying my videos, make sure that you are subscribed, leave the feedback in the comments section down below, and remember that the message board is open for your questions and chats. If you want to support me, you can pledge a few dollars over at Patreon to make sure I can run this channel. And talking about Patreon, now you can find some HD quality pictures of this vehicle and some daily reports of my progress on this one and other top secret projects available to patrons only. I see you all in the next video, cheers!